Tell me what you want, what you need. Tell me, tell me, tell me. Tell me what you want, what you need. Tell me, tell me, tell me. Tell me what you want, what you need. Tell me, tell me, tell me. Tell me what you want, what you need. Tell me, tell me, tell me.
Welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be talking about an exhibition that is currently being held at the MCMANUS galleries here in Dundee. It's a photographic exhibition of the work of a local photographer called Joseph Mackenzie. There are approximately 140 photos taken and printed by him on show in this exhibition, which is called A Love Letter to Dundee. All of these photographs were taken between 1964 and 1987. He has been described as the father of modern Scottish photography. Ironically, he was actually born in London in 1929. The reason why the photographs in the exhibition start in 1964 is because that is when he moved here to Dundee, eventually becoming the head of photography at the Duncan of Jordanstone College of Art and Design. There are really two halves of this exhibition. There is Dundee in Transition and Hawkhill, Death of a Living Community, which actually, thinking about it and having gone to the exhibition a few times, it really kind of also falls into two categories again. Dundee in Transition and Hawkhill, they both, for me, really fall into a work and personal halves as well, but they're actually very well matched in terms of the halves that they fall into. I'll explain what I mean. Dundee in Transition, that I'll take that as the first half, because that is kind of what greets you. That's obviously, there's one-way system right now in the MCMANUS galleries. That's kind of the half that you walk into. Well, yeah, it depends on where you go, but certainly the first half that I'll talk about is Dundee in Transition. Shortly after his arrival in Dundee, he received a formal commission to chronicle the construction of the Tay Road Bridge, which opened in 1966. So you can see the timeline there. So there's lots of photos of the construction, the building, even afterwards, of the completed Tay Road Bridge. Also in the Dundee in Transition section, there are pictures of the last couple of days of steam trains in service in Dundee. There's a really good one. I wish I'd taken a better photo of it because I can't quite find it online. But there's a great photo of a gentleman. It looks almost like in a train shed, or maybe it's that famed Dundee West train station. But the gentleman looks like he's walking out of steam that seems to be coming from one of the trains. Obviously they let off steam occasionally in those trains, and it seems that he's walking out of the steam, and it's a really atmospheric, great photo. And so there are a few photos of the trains, of one crossing the Tay Rail Bridge as well. I can't quite remember which direction it's going with it. I think it's actually going towards Dundee, but certainly it is on the Tay Rail Bridge. Also, the Women of Jute is part of the Dundee in Transition section. There again was another formal commission apparently that he received to document some jute life, and jute, the processing of, was a huge part of Dundee. At one time, basically the top industry in Dundee, what really kind of certainly helped build the city. Sadly no more. If you want to check out all things jute and the history of jute in Dundee, I always recommend the Verdant Works, which is not too far away from the MCMANUS galleries. I always recommend it, and it's always voted as one of the most popular visitor attractions in Dundee. Also, the Verdant Works and McManus Galleries, both are always up there in terms of voting. But certainly there's some great photos of the women in a jute mill, both working, kind of on a break, and just some general really good photos capturing the life of, again, women in jute. Like I said, the Dundee in Transition and Hawk Hill kind of breaks down into two further categories than the names of the exhibition, because this exhibition is made up of several photographic essays, but they're kind of broken down into these two halves. And I will say that the Dundee in Transition half of the exhibition is the work side. That is the work. Like I said, formal commissions of the Tay Road Bridge and then Women in Jute. I think the steam trains, I'm not entirely sure whether that was work or a passion project or just kind of doing photography, but certainly most of the Dundee in Transition stuff is work, is paid, like I said, paid formal commissions that he received. In terms of passion projects, the other half of the exhibition I believe certainly to be that. Hawk Hill is the area where the Duncan of Johnson College of Art and Design, as it is nowadays, and it is actually part these days of the Dundee University. That is where it is or was based. I'm not entirely too sure where Hawk Hill starts and ends, but certainly Hawk Hill is that kind of area. Certainly the area when he joined in the college in 1964. That's certainly where it is at that time. And so for the next 20 years he would go out and he would capture the area. Now he was apparently, without going into too much because I know I'm giving kind of a lot of things of the information of the exhibition, but he was told that kind of basically nobody loves Dundee and nobody really photographs Dundee, so certainly it seemed very much of a passion project for him to go out and capture the area of Hawk Hill, which, as the exhibition describes, it was pretty much a slum at that time. It basically was a slum. You see the photos of the people, the families, and especially the area, the photos of the streets of Hawk Hill and the areas of Hawk Hill that you can see people living in absolute poverty at that time. You can really see from the photos. I mean, there are several different kinds of images in these two halves. There are some that are obviously posed. He's got people to pose, whether they got to know him during the 20 years of him being around or even the Tay Road Bridge stuff, I don't know, but certainly he'd be able to get some people to pose for him, including one lady on a balcony and kind of looking out partially. She's kind of leaning against the wall, but you can see they're standing on a kind of balcony thing, and you can see the horrible kind of building conditions, street conditions. If you look kind of over the balcony way to the left, on the left hand side of the picture, but there are certainly ones that are posed, ones that he's just snapped, like the dog in the alleyway, a very famous photo of his, where he just saw the dog sitting there and it just looked a really good photo, so he took it. And also obviously ones where like kids are up playing, he's snapped it. What we would kind of basically call kind of street photography these days, and the posed ones kind of obviously would be portrait photography. But you can see abject poverty that they're all living in, the conditions and the crumbling of the buildings, just the mess that the area is in. A lot of the photos of the Hawk Hill half of the exhibition seem to be the early pictures. There are a few photos, some of the ones that I noticed were showing some of the demolition and obviously eventual rebuilding of Hawk Hill, but there are a lot of them, certainly the photos that are included are showing, because obviously the 140 images are split between the two halves of the exhibition. The Hawk Hill ones are certainly, vast majority of them at least, that I can remember seeing, are ones of, it must be like the early photos that he took, because like I said, he documented the area over the next about 20 years. So certainly most of them, if not all of them, are showing the horrible conditions of the mid 60s onwards. Like I said, 1964 was when he started. He would often, of course, go out in his lunch breaks, his lunch hours, and that's when he would do a lot of these photos. So there is two different halves to this exhibition. For me personally, obviously this exhibition, A Love Letter to Dundee, it drew me in for several reasons. Obviously, I'm a hobbyist photographer, and I'm born and raised, so I live in Dundee. And a lot of these photos, like I said, from 1964 to 1987 is the range of these photos, time-wise. I hear about a lot of these places, Dundee West train stations, just some of the streets and some of the areas in Dundee. A lot of them I don't remember, because quite a few of them, the places that he took photos were either demolished, or if it's the streets, the area was rebuilt before I was born. So, and I've heard a lot about, obviously from other family members and being a part of a couple of Facebook groups, about various different areas or places, buildings that used to be in Dundee that were demolished and gone before I was born. So it's really interesting for me to go down to the exhibition, to look at these photos and see the snapshots, see these images, these photos of Dundee as it used to be in those days, especially the earlier days, from the mid 60s on to the start of the 80s, times that before I was born, where it is, honestly, a lot of these are, all of these photos are in black and white. Not that they're horrible quality either. He was head of photography at Duncan and Johnson College of Art, and you can see why basically he was in that position, because the photos are very clear. It's not as if you're going down and you're looking at old horrible quality photos, because these are absolutely genuine. A lot of these photos could have been taken yesterday, printed out and added to the exhibition today. They're so clear, so crisp. You don't struggle at all to try and see what he was taking a photograph of at all. Working in black and white and in film, they're fantastic high quality photos, so you can easily, like I said, especially one, I think it was a later photo, but there's a photo of a kind of wooden pole that's got some metal fencing wire going off it. I'm sure that must be it looks like from around Newport, certainly on Fife, on the other side of the River Tay. It looks like it could have been literally taken yesterday and again added to the exhibition. So they're really high quality photos. You're not going in there and thinking, okay, I'm going to try and work out where that is, which is a great thing. Obviously, with an exhibition, you want to be able to look at the photos and see what's going on, and certainly in these ones you can. And even though some of the places that obviously I don't know, I never visited because they were, like I said, they were gone before I was born. You can literally go and stand there and look at these photos, wonder who these people were, if they're portraits or people in the photo, and if there's cityscapes, photos of streets. Even you can, first of all, what is the mark of a great photo like that is you can stand there, you can look at the photo, and you can imagine yourself in the position where Joseph Mackenzie took the photo, and you can imagine the hustle and bustle of what's going on. And also, many of these photos, Dundee has changed quite a bit. Dundee's been in transition again recently, but many of the areas I can still recognise. I still know the City Square, the bottom of Reform Street area. Even there's a few streets kind of behind the Caird Hall that is obvious, the semicircle street, can't remember what it's called right now, but there's a few shops there now, kind of opposite Lesser Gardens kind of way. A lot of these places, even the greenhouse near the top of the Law Hill, because there's allotments kind of halfway up-ish, there, that is obviously still recognisable. So many of the areas, even though I know some of the places that he took photographs, many of the conditions of buildings are no longer standing, a lot of Dundee is still so very recognisable even nowadays. You could easily pick out, well, that's here, that's there, like I said, the City Square, Law Hill, etc, etc. So it's a really good exhibition if you're interested in photographic history of Dundee. Obviously, if you remember some of these places, I mean, I know we're talking quite a few years ago, but we're talking really kind of only mid-60s, and we're in 2022 now, but a lot of this exhibition is really great to see the social photographic history of Dundee. So it's a really good exhibition. I really enjoyed going down there I've been down there at least 4 times now, gone down to look at these photos, and I certainly do want to go down at least one more time before the exhibition closes. I believe it's Sunday the 20th of March. It's been going on for, I believe, about a year and a half. I think it was August 2020 that it started. And I don't believe it's going to be extended. It's been on so long, a lot longer than it was going to be due to the current situation, and the MCMANUS Galleries has had occasionally to close for periods of time. So thankfully they've been able to keep the exhibitions kind of rolling to allow people the opportunity to see them. But certainly Joseph Mackenzie, if you read some of the, I believe there's a Joseph Mackenzie website, and there's a couple of remarks from his students, both there and I think in the exhibition description. He had a really good eye for photos. There's some really fantastic images of Dundee involved, and he also spent many hours in his dark room processing these images, creating his own chemicals, and just you could see the love, care and attention. Like I said, these are really high quality images that have been taken and printed by Joseph Mackenzie himself, and you can really tell the love and care that have been taken, have been given really into these photographs. So sadly, I don't know what his life was like in later years. They said the exhibition goes up to 1987. Sadly, he passed away, I believe, in Ninewells Hospital on the 5th of July 2015. I don't know what his life was like after. I believe he left the college in 1986, and I know he didn't exhibit photos much because apparently there was some kind of argument about an exhibition he did. I think it was the Hibernian images. He took some photos between 1967 and 1969, I believe, in Northern Ireland, and in 1970 he exhibited them, but there was some arguments about which ones were included and something to go. I'm not sure what the situation there was, but he didn't really show his work off much, and unfortunately I don't know how much he photographed from 87 onwards. There is a screen in the exhibition that shows more of the 900 approximately images that the MCMANUS Galleries apparently has of his that are not included, not certainly hung up on the walls in this exhibition. Next time I will go down there, I will have to actually try and see if I can sit there for a few minutes and look and kind of watch the slideshow a bit more to see some of them. I say it's unfortunate. I don't know when he kind of finished photographing things or when he was unable to, because when he passed away, certainly for the past about 12 years or so now, Dundee has been undergoing another period of transition with the V&A Museum. Obviously a lot of stuff going on at the Riverside, even down at Broughty Ferry. Just a lot of building, demolition, reconstruction, schools merging, and different places. Even a lot of the places where I visited as a child, as a young guy, are no longer there. Schools, some grandparents' houses, and just some areas where I spent some of my childhood no longer exist. So Dundee's been going through a lot of period transition, and I would love to have seen his images of this and heard his thoughts on this kind of period. Unfortunately, of course, he's no longer with us, but this is great tribute to. I'll admit, before this exhibition, I really didn't know too much about him. I'd heard the name before as a local photographer. Still don't really know too much about him, but it's an excellent exhibition. Some fantastic photos of Dundee, and I really genuinely think if you're into photography or social history of Dundee, or you've lived in Dundee for, like I said, for years, or visitors, I think you'd certainly appreciate this exhibition. Entry to the McManus galleries is free as always. There are suggested donations bits, but it's not like America. It's not like really suggested. But there's also other items in the McManus galleries as well. It's showing just basically items on display that kind of highlight the history of Dundee and the area. So again, like I said, it's always genuinely voted as one of the top visitor attractions in Dundee, and so it's well worth a visit. Even if there's also a streets exhibition. I've shown a couple of shop fronts, literally right next to it upstairs. Both exhibitions are upstairs, the streets one and the Joseph McKenzie one. But it's well worth wandering about the McManus galleries for a couple of hours. But certainly, as a photographer, as a Dundonian, I certainly really appreciate this exhibition. Like I said, do want to visit at least one more time before it closes on the 20th of March. But yeah, you can see some really great photos of Dundee, its people, the conditions in, like I said, between 1964 and 1987. And it genuinely is some amazing photos. I think people, even if you're not really into photography, I think a lot of people will really appreciate this exhibition if you go down and see it.